Hey all, so John is out of town this week. It is spring break in Oregon. And so this week we're doing Something Fun Volume 3. So just a collection of some of our favorite Something Funs over the last year. You can always search through our backlog for Something Funs Volume 1 and Volume 2. And with that, I will turn it over to John.
All right, here's something fun from Science Daily. I read this and I was like, ooh. So Mars, we've been looking for life on Mars, sort of. Water on Mars, we've known about that. But Mars did not go from wet to dry overnight. The quote is, the red planet stayed habitable way longer than we thought. And underground water kept flowing long after the lakes and rivers vanished, which created habitable pockets and possibly could have supported life for much longer and much more recently than we thought. So the quote is actually, our findings show that Mars didn't simply go from wet to dry. Even after its lakes and rivers disappeared, small amounts of water continued to move underground, creating protected environments that could have supported microscopic life. So these are researchers at the New York UAD. I don't know what UAD stands for. Researchers compared Curiosity rover's observations from Gale Crater with similar formations in the United Arab Emirates deserts. They found that ancient Martian dunes hardened into rock after interacting with groundwater. So water from nearby mountains seeped into dunes through fractures and deposited gypsum, which is a mineral known to capture and preserve organic traces. So what this means is that since these underground environments lasted far longer and much more recently than we thought, these are likely the best places to look for ancient life. So this will shift the search strategy from surface features to subsurface mineral deposits. So future missions may need to drill deeper in order to see signs of life. So that'll be exciting to see if this influences the targets for future Mars sample return and future rover missions. So the subsurface is the new frontier. All right, so another space-ish something fun from Science Daily is farming on the lunar surface gets closer. So scientists have grown chickpeas in simulated moon soil. So they took regolith, which is what what's on the surface of the moon, and were able to grow plants. So, obviously, long-term lunar habitation requires growing food locally as opposed to importing everything. It's a long ways from Earth. So this experiment mixed lunar regolith simulant with worm-produced compost and beneficial microbes, showing that modified moon soil can support crop growth. So this is a critical step towards self-sustaining lunar bases. Fingers crossed. So they grew these chickpeas, mixed with, it says worm-produced compost. They also call it vermicompost, and beneficial soil microorganisms. So raw regolith alone can't support plant growth and needs biological amendments. But the combination created viable growing conditions, which means that, it gives us at least a pathway to turn lunar soil into farmable substrate. Since every kilogram launched to the moon costs thousands and thousands of dollars, being able to grow food locally, even if it does require to start ingredients that would have to come, that will be transformative for Artemis-era habitation plans. Chickpeas are protein-rich, shelf-stable, and now apparently moon-compatible. So NASA has a program for Artemis for what's called in situ resource utilization, ISRU experiments. So stock up on hummus. It's space food now.
So mine, strangely enough, well, maybe not strangely enough, I found mine as an advertisement, a sponsored ad that was put in front of me while looking at Instagram. And it was for a retro Commodore. You remember the old Commodore 64?
I have one in my closet. What do you mean, remember? I am the worst. Okay, keep on.
You are going to be able to outfit
The Computer History Museum.
Computer History Museum of the Pacific Northwest at some point. They will come for you and say, do you have those zip drives still and jazz drives? Why, yes, I do.
I probably do. I'm the worst.
You remember those.
Don't look at those boxes back there.
Don't look at the boxes behind my head. Commodore.net. Commodore 64. Okay. They've kept true to the actual hardware, but they've added some improvements like HDMI instead of the old RCA jacks.
Okay.
For video jacks. So it's got HDMI, it's got Ethernet, it's got a few different things. But
is this like a Kickstarter?
Well, that's what's interesting is it's not a Kickstarter. They're trying to fund this and get enough people without a Kickstarter. So it's a Kickstarter-like, but not using Kickstarter because they're like, we wanted to give the savings and pass the savings on to you because we are pretty confident. I guess we'd have to look at the people who own it, but they went and bought the Commodore 64 actual brand and name, and they've spent a bunch of money. It's some of the original, like it's a bunch of graybeards, original guys on the Commodore 64 are bringing it back for nostalgic purposes, but with a few modern twists. Like instead of a tape drive, it's a USB drive that you plug in a USB, and it comes loaded with a whole bunch of stuff because memory is much cheaper now than it was in the 80s.
Okay.
So I just thought it was fun. It's like $400, $300.
Original retro games compatible with or comes with?
So compatible, it comes with 50, but it's compatible with everything. It's backwards compatible. If you have those discs still somewhere or tapes somewhere, you can plug them into this and they're asserting they will work. And I thought, that's kind of fun. I don't know if I want to spend $300 on it because I would also probably want the $350 one, which is kind of the cool translucent with colored LEDs. It's just the keyboard box. So there's no extra parts to it. It's just basically the keyboard box. You can see it on the website, commodore.net. It looks cool. And I'm half tempted, but I don't think I'll pull the trigger. But they've got, they've got 3 different versions. They've got an ultimate gold-plated version. They've got the LED fancy one, and they've got the original kind of beige.
You would have to do the original one. That's the only one that you could do. Like that. I'm sorry. Looking at them, I'm like... But I should really go see if I really have, because my recollection is that my parents brought it to me at some point and were like, get this out of our garage.
Right. We don't want this anymore.
Or maybe it was, can I throw this away? And I was like, oh, I remember, like that was my first computer.
Yeah. We had Franklin, the Apple II clone. I had a neighbor, buddy of mine who had the Commodore 64, and we would go over and play on his all the time. It was, anyways, nostalgia makes a comeback.
Yeah. Okay.
So there you go.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay. So my something fun, since this was Honey Week, there was a recent article I saw on Smithsonian about they found and identified sticky goo in some 2,500-year-old pots found in a shrine in southern Italy, and it was confirmed to be honey.
Didn't we have one from the Egyptian pyramids?
I believe, yes.
Didn't you have something fun?
Oh, probably. Yes. I know. I remember. I remember from Egypt.
Honey from Egypt found somewhere. Honey all over the place. Wow.
Well, it was the food of the gods, Clearly. Land of milk and honey. And I don't know, whatever else. Ambrosia. Anyway, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
honey in Italy from
2,500 years ago.
Okay.
So I guess that would be, 500 BC. But the jars were unearthed in the mid 50s, and they attempted to identify it. The first conjecture was it was honey, because they're like, oh, look at this. But they attempted to test it, and I guess technology at the time, they were not able to positively identify it. And it's been tried a couple times in the decades since, because there was another comment in here that several teams tried between the 1950s and the 1980s. It said the scientists eventually concluded the jars held animal or vegetable fat that had become contaminated by pollen and insect parts. But when the jars were going to the University of Oxford for a 2019 exhibition, they reinvestigated the goo. And it says, here's the quote, by applying several mass spectrometry and spectroscopic approaches, we were able to reveal a comprehensive picture of the residue's molecular composition, enabling us to distinguish between contaminants, degradation products, and original biomarkers. The smoking gun for honey was finding sugars right in the heart of the residue. Testing also revealed the presence of royal jelly, a milky protein secreted by honeybees, as well as peptides from the relative of a parasitic mite that feeds on honeybee larvae. So basically,
mites have been around forever.
Multiple confirming pieces of evidence.
Nice.
And yeah, honey exists. And I'm running actually a little experiment here, I will say. This is just doesn't really matter. But I got a sourdough warming pad. I don't know if sorry, you can't see this
Okay.
That I'm attempting to decrystallize honey by putting a honey jar on a sourdough warming pad that you can control the temperature on. Because you don't want to raise. And I don't know that. I mean, it's working. Seems super slow. So I don't know. I think boiling in water or like warming water and putting it in warm water is probably faster. But it seems to be working. I found this because I when I was getting out all the extraction equipment and stuff, I was like, oh, crumb, I still have two 2-gallon jugs from last year that we haven't touched and I haven't bottled or anything. And I was like, I wonder if they have a honey warmer on Amazon. And they don't really, I mean, they do, that they have expensive, blah, blah, blah. But this kind of came up as a suggestion. I was like, oh, that's interesting. My wife was like, you bought what? What?
I bought a sourdough warmer.
Like,
Anyway.
All right. Fun.
All right.
There you go. Honey lass.
Good stuff. My something fun, like I said, is the more fun. So we have talked about this a number of different times.
I saw this.
Apparently now,
it's beginning.
Jurassic Park news, we have now cloned a mammoth, some mammoth traits into a mouse. So we now have the woolly mouse. Woolly mouse mammoth.
Mammoth mouse?
A mammoth mouse. It's not big. It's just furry and fuzzy. And they have pictures and video of these mice. So here you go. It's being done at the University of California, Santa Cruz. And I'll just kind of go through how to make a woolly mouse. Santa Cruz, the banana slugs. You got to love the banana slugs. What a great mascot. How to create a woolly mammoth. They identified genetic variants in which mammoth differed from their closest living relative, the Asian elephant, and they pinpointed 10 variants related to hair length, thickness, texture, color, body fat, etc. And they took a gene. I won't try to, a gene that targets the hair growth, and now they have mice that have longer, shaggier hair. Similar to, the woolly hair texture, the wavy coats, curled whiskers, etc. They identified another gene which regulates melanin production in order to produce mice with golden hair rather than the dark fur. Anyway, so they made 10 edits using 3 cutting-edge techniques to 7 mice genes. Now, the paper currently is unpublished, but for the article, I think it's a CNN link here. I'm sure there's other links, but CNN link, They shared an unpublished, pre-printed scientific paper describing the research, which has not undergone peer review. So this may be giggles for nothing, but we now have woolly mammoth mice-ish. I'll give you the asterisk there.
So did they make all 10 changes to one set of mice, or did they vary and do different cohorts of mice with different gene
if I'm reading it right, they made 8 of the edits simultaneously and then applied them.
Oh, interesting.
So they're not all identical. So they've been playing around with it, but it has begun. The box has been opened. There is no shoving.
It was opened a couple of years ago, but yeah,
exactly.
Okay,
so there you go.
May our woolly mice overlords,
let's see,
be kind
if
to us.
Anybody asks whether or not we should.
Just because we could.
Because clearly we can.
Clearly we can. All right.
Anyways, that's my something fun.
So
woolly
I would
mice.
like some genes from this next my something fun splice into me. Please.
Wait. I read sharks. Wait, what?
Yeah.
You have shark genes?
So mine is a Smithsonian link that is Greenland sharks are large, mysterious creatures that roam the chilly waters of, take a guess, I'm assuming Greenland. It says the North Atlantic and Arctic Ocean. These elusive animals are considered the longest living vertebrates on the planet and can survive to be roughly 400 years old, which is pretty good for a large
I want to say
vertebrate.
We've talked about these sharks. Sharks are like really old.
Did we? Okay, hold on.
I don't know if we talked about this specifically, but I want to say I remember talking about sharks and age of sharks at some
Greenland.
point off the coast of our new 51st state.
No, it'll be the 52nd, right after Canada.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. You're right. I forgot.
But, so let me read you something else. So this was from an article that was linked from like last year, so it's not related to this. It says, in the frigid depths, the cold-blooded animals' movements and metabolism slow dramatically. This quote is why I pulled out this other thing. Greenland sharks' metabolic rate is just above a rock. Chris Lowe, a shark biologist at the California State University at Long Beach, told Smithsonian Magazine in 2016. Just above a rock. Greenland sharks are slow-growing, less than half an inch per year, but live so long that mature specimens reach more than 19 feet in length. These sharks may not reach reproductive age until they are 150 years old, longer than any human has ever survived. Based on their growth rates and the size of some sharks, their maximum age could be as much as 500 years. Anyway, that's pretty cool. Okay, but what's the actual article about? Well, they sequenced a Greenland shark's genome, and researchers in Japan discovered multiple copies of genes that might explain why the animals don't often get cancer. So there's a gene.
Okay.
So the genes in question influence what's known as the NF-KB signaling pathway. I don't know anything about this signaling pathway, but it says it supports the body's immune system and regulates inflammation. When the pathway is disrupted, pathogens and tumor cells are able to flourish, suggesting that it plays an important role in an animal's overall health and well-being. So copies of these genes are significantly increased in Greenland sharks compared to other shorter-lived shark species. So they kind of, in this way, they've shown, perhaps proved is too strong, they've shown that if you damage this, it has, deleterious effects. But then it also says Greenland sharks are not the only creatures in the sea with a high number of genes related to the NF-KB signaling pathway. Another long-lived animal, the red sea urchin, also has multiple copies of the genes linked to this pathway, and red sea urchins can live to be more than 100 years old, which is pretty cool. So the second thing is that it says they other researchers sequencing the Greenland shark genome found another hint to their superpower. Multiple copies of 81 genes involved in DNA repair. In particularly, they found that the sharks carried an altered version of the TP53 gene, which helps suppress tumors and repair DNA. These findings, published in a preprint paper in September, suggest the Greenland shark's TP53 mutation may also play a role in the species' longevity, although more research is needed. So, how cool is that?
That is cool. So I know I'm not going crazy. I did the same thing, searched our podcast. So episode 123.
Okay, wait, what? 123.
We don't jinx me, Friday, April 17th, 2020. So
Okay,
5 years ago, we did an article from BBC News on just Greenland sharks are the oldest living sharks.
Look
so
at
that was the something fun. It wasn't, and I think it was actually you that did that.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
it wasn't on the genome or figuring that out. It was just really old sharks.
well,
Sharks live to be really old.
Who doesn't like old sharks? Anyone swimming with them, probably.
Or maybe if they're old, they've lost their teeth. They're grandpa shark.
Well, good memory. And why did I not catch that when I hit shark? But I see it now. So very cool. Maybe I misspelled
Anyways.
shark. Shark. Okay. Well, anyway, yeah.
Good stuff. Good
yeah.
stuff.
May we know more about the shark genes? I have something that you can empirically validate in a very small couple of ways.
Unlike yours, Eric.
Well,
Let me tell you.
you at least know the pictures of some of these critters.
Uh-huh.
So I thought this was, I was like just browsing and I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. This has to be my something fun.
Okay.
So this is an example of convergent evolution, meaning that different species have evolved to do the same thing because it's an interesting thing to do, but they're not related to each other. They're on wildly disparate parts of the animal kingdom.
Okay.
But there have been at least 12 distinct parts of mammalia that have evolved to be anteaters over the last 65 million years.
I guess the abundance of a certain food source.
Well, exactly, right? Exactly. You're like
things to go through
what
direction.
I'm really hungry. This termite looks tasty. I guess. So I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. So it's the exact comment here is that findings published in Evolution reveal that mammals independently evolved specialized adaptations for exclusively feeding on ants and termites at least 12 times. Could have been more.
Oh, I should have read the article.
Could have been more. What?
I didn't even read that part. I was just, I guess I'm not as dumb as I look.
Isn't that cool? Like
That is kind of cool.
They at least 12 times. So presumably there could have been more, but that we don't know about. Since the Cenozoic era began roughly 66 million years ago, presumably that's when ants and termites really kind of exploded.
Got it.
The word for it feeding exclusively on ants and termites is myrmecophagy.
Myrmecophagies.
Evidently. So there's a little icon or a graphic that says you can be insectivory, carnivory, myrmecophagy, herbivory, omnivory, something else. But it's the insectivores and the carnivores that have evolved to be myrmecophagores.
But not, okay.
But
okay.
not the herbivores. I think, but hold on. There was more. I'm sorry. Hold on. It says the analysis revealed that myrmecophagy evolved at least once in each major mammal group: monotremes, marsupials, and placentals. but unevenly, suggesting some lineages were more evolutionary predisposed to ant and termite eating. But here's the funny thing, right? Or I don't know. I found this funny in the whole thing, but they kind of work themselves into an evolutionary dead end. Because
how many?
It's not a good way to evolve out of that, I guess. Or there was a comment earlier in the article, I don't think I pulled out, that only one species that we know of in history switched from being a ant and termite eater to something else. Everything else has been, that's the final destination, is the termites. But the comment is that but in some ways, specializing on ants and termites paints a species into a corner. But as long as social insects dominate the world's biomass, these mammals may have an edge, especially as climate change seems to favor species with massive colonies like fire ants and other invasive social insects. So we may wind up only with ants, termites, and myrmecophages.
I want an aardwolf.
Right?
That's my favorite one of all the 12 species that are in the little
Not the echidna
picture.
Or the numbat?
Numbat's a close second. I want the aardwolf or a numbat. I mean, maybe a sloth bear. That sounds fun.
Anyway, I thought that cool. I thought that was cool. So I read this article and I was like, okay, that's awesome. So convergent evolution.
Myrmecophagy.
I will not remember that. I'm sorry. You can grill me tomorrow and I will have forgotten. I will remember that word exists, but I will not remember what that word is.
I'm going to put it in the title.
Okay.
That way everybody can have fun trying to pronounce it. All right.
What? Yeah. Sorry, last one. One thing myrmecophages share is an almost insatiable appetites. Ants and termites are so low in energy that even a small animal like the numbat has to eat 20,000 termites a day. There you go.
Yeah, and the aardwolf has to eat 300,000
per night.
No wonder the aardwolf didn't stick around. All right.
There you go.
Well, good stuff.
All right, my friend. Have a good evening.
Yep.
I will talk to you later.
We will see you.
Bye, Eric.
Bye.